McGregor's ever be kings again?
All men with honor are kings. But not all kings have honor.
What is honor?
Honor is a gift a man or a woman gives to themselves, as Rob Royce said. You thought I was hot when they fired Flores? You ain't seen nothing. I had my alarm on my phone set for 4:30 a.m. Get up. I figured I'd get up that time, get the podcast together. Eyes cracked open, wide awake. Figured it was like, 4 o'clock. German, so I got an internal clock. I figured, it's a couple minutes before I had to get up. 11:30 at night. Had to dig into the situation. I couldn't go to sleep until this thing was resolved in my mind and put together in a podcast. Because after this, I'm just going to shut it down for a day. Brian Flores is suing the Dolphins and, two other NFL teams, the NFL, I guess, in general. Giants, the Broncos, and the Dolphins. He's made a series of claims. We don't know if those claims are true. But there is so much circumstantial evidence wrapped around it and actual evidence. And I'm going to get into all of that. I'm going to break it down as much as I can. I'm going to really dig into the Dolphins part. Obviously, the racism part with the NFL is an essential component. I'm going to dig into that on another podcast because it's a big deal. And I'm going to do that in the NFL side of the show. But right now, I'm going to touch on that and just hard focus on the Dolphins aspect. Because if you open it up too much, things get lost in the scrum. So I want to stay laser focused. This time, I learned I'm angry but focused. Now, the Rooney Rule, people don't really understand what the Rooney Rule is. It used to mean you had to get one minority, I hate that term, minority candidate to interview in order to have a legitimate interview process. Then it became 2 outside minority candidates had to interview. And this is why you had Flores, Graham, and I always forget his name, the DC coach from the Bills. And people say, oh, well, this is not racism. They already had 3. They didn't need him. They needed him because they needed 2 outside candidates. Not 1, but 2. Now, some people are going to go all the way in one direction on this, and others are going to go in the other direction on this. And I'm going to try to just narrow it down to a reality and then deal with the rest later. Brian Flores. I'm not going to talk about every coach or every situation. I'm going to deal with the one situation. Brian Flores got fired. And in my take that I've been saying for quite some time, unfairly and unjustly, people say, well, he fired all those coaches. Listen, did you ever actually look into why all those coaches were let go and what the circumstances around that and how that came about? I did. We'll talk about that another time. Or say he couldn't get an offensive coordinator. He had Gailey. Why is Gailey gone? Oh, well, he couldn't. He ran everything. I mean, they were talking at some point that I thought they would have come at one point and say they found body parts in the bottom of the Miami facility and it was Brian Flores. This is how heavy-handed they came at this guy. This guy was being, if it wasn't true, smeared. Even if it was true, attacked, poured on from every direction by sources with no names. Sources, we'll get into that. Now, I've been talking about the oddity of sources for quite some time. He's going into an interview. He's got multiple teams looking at him, whether it's legit or not, whatever. When you go into interview with a team, it's not like, hey, hi, my name is Charlie. Got some swizzle sticks. Can I get the job? It's not like that. You got to know the team. You got to prepare. You got to invest heavy amounts of time. And you're doing this with other teams. You got to do the same thing with flying around in a short period of time, putting your best foot forward to get one of only 32 jobs on the planet. You don't got time to waste on useless interviews that are going nowhere. Brian Flores' time was being wasted. You sit there and study and work hard all day for nothing to know that you're doing it for nothing. When you got other things that you got to do that are important to you. So you could be used for a dog and pony show for another franchise that has no use for you. That will, your own team spit you out like nothing. Don't tell me that there's nothing, it's not a big deal. You get shorted 15 minutes on your job and you're upset that you didn't get your 15 minutes and you're fighting for it. Now, we could just dismiss this as a disgruntled employee. If it wasn't for this. Let's parse the Bill Belichick conversation with Brian Flores. Sounds like you've landed. Congrats. Did you hear something I didn't hear? Giants? Question mark, exclamation mark, blah, 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 blah. I interview on Thursday. I think I have a shot. Got it. I hear from Buffalo and New York Giants that you are their guy. Hope it works out. If you want it to, I'm going to stop right here. How does the coach of the New England Patriots hear from the Bills and the Giants that their guy is Dable? And why did he hear from them? Was it to let Dable know that the job is yours, don't take the Miami job? Seems like he was supposed to pass a message on because it makes no sense considering how secretive NFL teams are that they're going to let Bill know from the Patriots, both the Bills and the Giants, that Dable's their guy. That's definitely what I want. I hope you're right, Coach. Thank you. Coach, are you talking to Brian Flores or Brian Dable? Just making sure. Sorry, I effed this up. I double-checked and misread the text. I think they are naming Dable. I'm sorry about that, BB. This is why this is a lie. He didn't misread it. How would he hear from the Bills that it was Brian Flores' job? How would the Bills know that the job is Brian Flores's? The only reason they know is because their guy was interviewing with the job. People say, oh, this was a way for Bill Belichick to get back at the NFL. No, it wasn't. Bill done screwed up. And he got the wrong Brian mixed up. Maybe there's like some back reason, but there's no way, maybe there is, but there's no way he got confused. Because there's no way that the Bills are going to tell Bill Belichick that Brian Flores has a job with the Giants. Makes no sense. But this is the interesting part. What does Flores say after that? Thanks, Bill. It was coach, 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 coach. Thanks, Bill. If some people are saying, oh, Bill was in on it with Flores because Flores was his guy, that seems like a distancing. Coach is an endearing thing. Bill is a separation in the way you speak. Can't put your foot in the ground on it, but it really seems weird that that was said. And it makes it look like, as they would say, the old boys club. And Flores wasn't in on the old boys club. You don't waste valuable time. Time is the most critical thing. This man's future is on the line, and you're dangling him along. Anybody who says that's okay is a liar or stupid, because they would never accept this in their own life. But it's okay. It's okay for Flores. Let's move on to the Dolphins stuff. Flores alleging that Ross was willing to give him $100K to lose games. Now, if we go back and we remember that Brian Flores stood up for Ross with stills. He said, why don't you talk to the man in the background? Talk to him face to face, but, not in public like this. And what did some of these journalists come out? Oh, Brian Flores is a company man. They're calling him an Uncle Tom. This guy's taking a beating on the nose for Ross. Standing up for Ross. Ross wanted Burrow. Or maybe Tua. But it's clear that when Ross said that the structure of this new organization was going to be Greer was totally in charge and he would speak directly to Ross. And what did Ross say? It could take a year, it could take 2 years, it could take 3 years. We're going to build it this way. And everything went through Ross from the beginning. You go back and check the records, the interviews. I don't need sources for this. There's interviews. So Ross knew exactly what was going on. Flores lost a bunch of games. Remember, they're saying, we got to look into this. This is corruption. This is tanking. Team players are wanting to know. They want to get off the ship. Flores, this is his last year. And I actually heard some fans saying, well, Ross couldn't do anything. Flores couldn't do anything right. He couldn't even tank right. Who brought Fitzpatrick in? It wasn't Flores. He didn't roll in as a rookie head coach saying, I want this, I want that, like some of these sources have been saying, some of these media voices have been saying. Go back and check the records. Oh, but you know what? 1990 videos of the Miami Dolphins have been scrubbed. So you can't really even go back to watch them. But if you go back and watch him, he says, I came in, Flores and Greer saying, I came in, I'm going to have to rely on the staff. We're just trying to figure it out. Greer brought in Fitzpatrick. I'm sure with Flores is okay. But if you didn't bring in Fitzpatrick and pair him with Flores, you would still had your tank. And who would have been holding the bag? Maybe Greer, but mostly Flores. But you paired them two together and he started winning. And from what we're seeing here, Ross didn't like it. Ross would never do something like that. Are you kidding me? Flores proved he was not a tanker. He proved it the way he coached people up and got them to overcome. Do I believe he paid him $100K? I don't know. But you know what? I bet you Flores has some proof because he would not, with his lawyers, say such a thing without any proof. And Ross is dumb enough to have texted him or have left some trail. I bet he did. I bet there is a trail. Then there's also the meeting on the yacht. Now you get some people saying, oh, it's about Brady. It's about Brady. Maybe it is. Brady come to the Dolphins. Watson was already having problems with the Texans. Well, we didn't know about them. The media didn't report it. Where did Chris Grier's father go after the Patriots? He went to the Texans. He was involved in drafting Watt. He was highly entrenched with the Texans. You don't think he has contacts there still? You don't think that there's messages coming from the Texans back to the Dolphins, to Grier? You don't think that they knew ahead of the time of the media? Maybe it was Brady, but I don't think Brady was dumb enough to come here. To me, it seems like Watson, but I can't prove that. Ross has proved that he'll stick people in the back. He brought Hickey in for a year, fired him just to bring in Grier and Tannenbaum, stabbed Sperano in the back, and then said, this guy can't get over it, and laughed just recently in his interview over Harbaugh had his chance to come with us the first time. A dishonorable moment, and he's laughing about it. I mean, it was dishonorable. He was a liar and a sneak and a skulker. Oh, do you believe this is not true? Do you think that Brian Flores, whatever you think about him being an angry man, can't get along with people, you think he's dumb enough to not have evidence? You got one loaded, huge this text from Bill Belichick is the tip of the iceberg of the evidence. Sun Tzu, and I know Brian Flores reads Sun Tzu. Never go to battle unless you've already won the battle. Going to read a little quote from the affidavit. I'll get into all that stuff later. He was Flores subsequently defamed throughout the media and the league as he was labeled by the Dolphins brass as someone who was difficult to work with. This is reflective of the all too familiar angry black man. Hey, sounds like something I've been saying for quite some time. Suit hustle. Let's see. With Flores, keep the Ross effect in mind. September 29th. I did that podcast. Has to be honor. And I was questioning the mentality of the suit versus the mentality of the warrior. Something wasn't jiving to me. October 2nd. Is Brian Flores really a coach cutter? Go back and check at all the coaches he lost. The media will say, hey, he got rid of all these guys. Do you know why every one of them is gone? Do you know the context? Do you understand? Do you know why Shane Gailey is gone? That has been the pin feather. I've said that from the beginning. It's the pin feather to everything. It opens it all up. October 28th, Ross has the soul of the Dolphins at the crossroads. Little did I know how he had it at the crossroads, how the very fiber of this franchise was. I thought it was this, and it was much bigger. October 30th, suit hustle. I go over the hustle. I go over all the stuff that's going on, the curiosity leading up to Gailey, up to Tua being inserted, Gailey not being involved in it, and all the media lies that surrounded it. All the media sources that were full of garbage. How nobody questioned that you could insert Tua who wasn't healthy and didn't know the playbook and didn't consult the offensive coordinator. Even though that offensive coordinator was ultimately valuable to the Flores staff and regime. Somebody put Tua in and it wasn't Flores. It wasn't the staff. He wasn't ready. Who put him in? Go back and check the Gailey August 8th. I'm going to do a whole podcast, like 10 minutes of just succinct video to show you how odd the insertion of Tua was and how The coach of the team and the offensive coordinator didn't make the decision. And there was a lot of weird stuff around that. Was it to sink Tua? Was it to sink Flores? Was it to sink Flores and Tua? I don't know. Something beyond football led to the brass, Greer, and now it appears Ross, forcing in Tua without the staff and without the head coach making the call. Dennis Snakes, Ross and Greer. I got a lot of heat. How can you call him a worm? This is a witch hunt. Where's Caldwell? Why isn't he coming? I remember there were articles, sources came out, and they said Caldwell left because he really wasn't sick. He just couldn't get along with Flores. Okay, why didn't he interview? Why no Peterson? Why no Jim Harbaugh? Why are we down to Mike McDaniel, without the S, screw that one up, and Kellen Moore? And that's it. Because, like I said, with Flores, keep the Ross Fleck in mind, nobody of any gravitas and salt wants to work here because it's a den of snakes. 4 months ago, I said that. Some people are saying it now like it's a new news. You're hearing a lot about Tua didn't stand up for Flores. He didn't stand up for Gailey. Until was it May when he came out and said, I didn't know the playbook? How many months had passed? How many articles came out that said Gailey was sabotaging Tua, that Gailey was fired by the Dolphins? Still today, the suit hustle, the media hocus pocus. I did that video too just recently. January 14th, the media hocus pocus with the Miami Dolphins. Did a little thing. Listen to this. The wrap-up smear.
Call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this. So they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear.
The wrap-up smear. Think about the vast voices, all in unison, all saying the same thing. Flores had total control. He made all the choices, but we got to keep Greer because he drafted Holland, he drafted Waddle, and he drafted Jalen. Well, that makes no sense. If Flores was in total control, then he picked those guys too. So we should get rid of Greer, keep Flores because he was winning pretty well and he was making all the picks. But all the voices, he was an angry man. He didn't even talk to the coaches. He didn't talk to anybody. He wanted Watson. He hated Tua. There were bodies in the basement. Flores did everything. And poor Chris Greer was just being abused. He even yelled at Ross. Now things are looking like they might be a little different. Sources. This is why I have a problem with sources. Sources, they just say whatever they want. You could say whatever you want about Brian Flores, but he was hit from every side by unknown voices, except for some media puppets in the front backing these sources and making claims based on unknown sources, even though many of these sources were conflicting with each other, and it would be one way. Just the other day, what was it? Mike McDaniel was in the building, and he said Tua was the greatest thing since sliced bread. But then he wasn't, because Greer was in looking at the kids over at the bowl, at the scouting combine, I can't remember the thing. You know what I'm talking about. Sources. Brian Flores put his name on this. Whatever you say, if he craps out here, he loses his career. He loses everything. Everything. Honor is a gift a man gives himself. Ross has no honor. He's a dishonorable man. It's clear. It's clear. I don't know if everything is the way it's saying it is, but my antenna's been up for 4 months. How did they go up for 4 months? How did I know this stuff was going to go down the way it was going? I study the media. I know it really well. I screw up names, make mistakes on little things, which I'm going to fix. When it comes to the macro, I put my time in. Greer, he's just a yes man. And he'll screw anybody over. I said, if Ross was the bad guy, all Chris Greer had to do was say, no, I'm not doing this. Go out to the media and say, hey, if you push this forward, I'm going to say, you got an African-American, a black GM and a black coach, and you're trying to screw us over with this and this and this. No. But there was no unity because all Chris Greer wanted was his gig. If what Flores is saying is true. But how many people bought everything the sources said, and now they're like, this can't be, this is a guy. Why do some people immediately believe unknown sources? When Ross's history is one of lying, one of deceit, one of dissension. Every regime he's had has had dissension and lies in every single one. Brian Flores could have just tanked and got the pick, but he showed character. You could see in Brian Flores' life, I'm sure he's not perfect, character. And you could see just the willingness to be a backstabbing businessman in Ross and Greer. The Bill Belichick text cements some serious facts. Whatever you say about Brian Flores, you can't say he's stupid. He's a warrior. He stands up. He stood up for his boss when he could have just not said anything. And he took the heat, was cold on Uncle Tom. He could have tanked. He would have been so easy to tank. They got rid of everybody and everything. But he fought through and kept pushing through and made success out of it. Even when they were saying all this stuff about him, he didn't say anything. And then he got this text. And then he realized, you know what? I got to do something here, man. This is screwed up. The suit hustle is still on. There's a lot of voices out there that I like and I respect, but they was carrying water. They were telling you Flores was this, this, and this, and this. Debating on whether I take those quotes, show you some serious evidence. I'm not. Right now, I'm angry. Trying to keep control better than I did the last time. Giants released a statement saying Flores was in the conversation to be our head coach until the 11th hour. The team did not deny it settled on Dable before interviewing Flores, but noted the impressive and diverse group of candidates. It's like a contradiction there. There's a media voice that I respect, been listening to for years, and he had to say this in a tweet. I leave this day asking myself one thing. Why would Brian Flores not take the super secret but common meeting with Tom Brady? Was it loyalty to Belichick? I did some podcasts a while back talking about perception over projection. Most people project themselves on others when they try to figure out why they're doing something. It's very difficult for many people to inhabit the concepts, the mores, the ideals, the faith, the beliefs that someone else might have and see it through their lens and through their eyes. Something as a writer I've developed over many, many, many years of seeing many, many people and many, many things. Brian Flores is an honorable warrior. Can't you understand that? Even if it was out of loyalty to Belichick, it was also loyalty to the system because he didn't want his name tarnished. Good men do not like to lie. They don't want to have their name tarnished. But why is this the focus? How can not the total focus be, did Ross do this? Has been Brian Flores been put up on the cross and beaten for weeks now and months in a suit hustle by by assassins at high and low positions. How can this be the focus? As I said, I'm going to do a video. No sources, just video, voices, leading up to Tua's insertion. And it's clear that somebody in power overrode the staff, overrode Flores to the detriment of the team and ultimately Flores, Tua, Gailey, Fitzpatrick. It all went south from that point. And if someone had the power to do that, then Brian Flores wasn't in total control. And maybe if he was being called Uncle Tom for defending his owner, maybe if he was being pressed to go on a yacht and to break rules he didn't want to break. Maybe if he was being offered to be bribed to compromise his integrity to lose games. And maybe if his staff was compromised, his quarterback was taken out and another forced in. And it ultimately led to the end of his offensive coordinator. It was essential in his own quote to his team. Maybe he had a reason to be angry. Maybe he had a reason to be frustrated. Why isn't that the focus? Why isn't the focus that all these top reporters might have been giving bad information, pushing forward the assassination of a good man? You gotta let it all play out and prove out. But why is there still not enough questions? They're gonna talk about prejudice. They're gonna talk about all kind of stuff. And people who it's not like convenient for their image is gonna get on along for a ride and pretend like they never said anything in the past. But why aren't we getting to the heart of this? It started with a good man going to a den of snakes and being pressed to do things that weren't correct. And then the powers that be used media to besmirch him, to weaken him, to just try to destroy him. And then ultimately it led into the rest of the stuff. Why isn't that the focus? Or at least a focus of questions at this point? Because the hustle's still on, baby. I do some future podcasts. I said in one of my other podcasts that some good could come out of the Civil War. But Dolphin fans of football, think of this possibility if all this is true. Brian Flores was a man of honor, a warrior of honor, who went to a den of snakes. And by standing up for what was right, even to the detriment of his own career and his future, he will ultimately tear apart the power structure of the Miami Dolphins and this ridiculous power structure of the NFL. Whatever you say whatever you want. On the back, it says, on their helmets, it says all the stuff, end racism, da, 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 da. Meanwhile, you have people that you're supposed to end the racism for dancing around, doing wasted interviews in the most critical point of their career. Dog and pony show. The hypocrisy. Maybe this will end. Maybe Brian Flores will clear up the franchise and the league. The Rooney Rule's stupid. In a sense that there's no heart behind it. I can't remember the quote by Martin Luther in Brian Flores' suit, but it was perfect. Should have wrote it down. I'm an idiot. From a Dolphin standpoint, at least, if this is true, Ross is gone. His name will be turned to mud and dirt and he'll get yanked. And hopefully his little crony, Bruce Beal, who's the line of succession, who's another nothing that a commenter brought to my attention months ago and I've been talking about, he'll be out too, along with Chris Greer. And maybe we'll finally get somebody of honor to run this franchise again, to bring men of honor back here for the Dolphins to finally. Don't you get it? This is a warrior sport. You can't have liars and thieves running the show and expect to have success. Stage 1 and stage 2, you need honor. You need loyalty. You need the Warriors way. We haven't had it in a long, long time. Don Shula quit because he wouldn't submit to the suits. It's the last Warrior we had, probably. Even though I like Sperano, his character. Most of the rest of the guys, Brian Flores might end up saving the Dolphins. This all pans out the right direction. Won't that be interesting? Then, of course, is the biggest story of the NFL. But we'll deal with that next time. This is Curtis saying thank you for staying to the end. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Get back to you. I'm going to answer those comments in a day or so. Haven't slept. Mind's on fire. Subscribes and likes help us with the Google overlords. They're powerful. Subscribes and likes help us and keeps us in business. I like that too. Root for the good man. Just believe that there's a possibility that this is the truth, even if you don't believe it. Because ultimately, a lot of good could come out of it if it's true. A lot of good. It's Curtis saying, catch you next time. Thank you for watching and staying to the end. Be well. Go Fins. Start building your own online sportsbook today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.